In the vast emptiness where stars whisper secrets to those brave enough to listen, there exists a truth that most civilizations learn too late: size matters far less than strategy, and numbers mean nothing without wisdom. The Keltheran Empire had ruled the outer spiral for 3,000 cycles, their dominance unchallenged, their fleet unmatched. They had crushed rebellions on 40 worlds and absorbed 12 lesser species into their collective power. They believed, was absolute. They were about to learn otherwise. The War Council chamber aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion hummed with anticipation. Fleet Commander Vorshal stood before the tactical display, his 4 arms crossed in a gesture of supreme confidence. His silver-scaled skin reflected the holographic projections that floated around him, showing the pathetic human colony on the edge of explored space. Behind him, his officers waited, their eyes gleaming with predatory excitement. "The humans have rejected our terms," Vorshal announced, his voice carrying the weight of inevitability. "They refuse to surrender their mining operations on Epsilon Ridge. They refuse to acknowledge Keltheran authority. Most insulting of all, they have demanded we leave their territory." He paused, allowing bitter laughter to ripple through his assembled captains. Territory. As if these newcomers, these primitive creatures who only discovered quantum drives 5 years ago, have any claim to space we have patrolled for millennia. Captain Dravik, commander of the battle cruiser Shadow's Edge, stepped forward. His younger features showed eagerness for combat. "How many vessels do they possess in this system, Commander?" "Our reconnaissance identified 12 patrol craft and 1 orbital defense station." Vorshal's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Primitive designs. Kinetic weapons primarily. No plasma arrays. No quantum disruptors. Their technology is at least 3 generations behind standard Keltheran military equipment." "And our force?" asked Admiral Tykros, the strategic coordinator whose tactical brilliance had won 17 campaigns. Vorshal gestured, and the display shifted to show the assembled might of the Keltheran response fleet. 200 warships filled the holographic space. Dreadnoughts. Carriers. Destroyers. Frigates. Assault ships. Support vessels. The greatest military force assembled in this sector in 50 cycles. 200 ships against 12, Tykros observed. "Some might call this excessive." "I call it sending a message," Vorshal replied coldly. "When we finish with the human colony, every species in 10 sectors will remember what happens to those who defy the Keltheran Empire. Their station will be debris. Their ships will be scattered atoms. Their colonists will beg for the mercy of servitude." What none of them knew, what their intelligence had failed to discover, was that the humans had been preparing. Not with numbers. Not with matching the Keltheran ship for ship. Humanity had learned a different lesson from their violent history, from their wars that had nearly destroyed their homeworld before they reached for the stars. They had learned that sometimes, one precise strike accomplished more than 1,000 unfocused blows. At the human colony of New Horizon, things appeared calm. The orbital station, designated Guardian 1, maintained its routine operations. Miners continued their work in the asteroid field. Transport shuttles moved between the surface and orbit with regular efficiency. To Keltheran observers, everything looked normal. Desperate, perhaps, but normal. They saw a civilization facing its final hours with the quiet dignity of the doomed. They did not see the ship. It hung in the shadow of Epsilon Ridge's largest moon, its hull black as the void itself, every surface designed to absorb rather than reflect. No energy signature. No thermal bloom. No electromagnetic radiation. The Phantom's edge was invisible to conventional sensors, a ghost ship built with every lesson humanity had learned from predators throughout their evolution. Sometimes the prey learned to become something else entirely. Commander Robert Takashi sat in the captain's chair, his weathered face illuminated only by the soft glow of tactical displays. At 45, he was one of Earth's most decorated officers, a veteran of the Europa conflict and the Mars Rebellion. He had seen war. He had seen what happened when superior numbers met inferior preparation. He had also seen what happened when desperation met innovation. "Status report," he said quietly. Lieutenant Harrison Park, the tactical officer, responded without looking up from his console. "Keltheran fleet holding position at the system's edge. 200 contacts confirmed. They're running final system checks. Estimate they'll begin their approach in 20 minutes. Reactor core?" Takashi asked. "Running at 3% capacity," replied Engineering Chief Nguyen from her station. "Cooling systems maintaining stealth profile. On your command, we can reach full power in 8 seconds. Weapons?" "The Lancer is charged and calibrated," reported Weapons Officer Stella Ortiz. "Quantum calculations complete. We have firing solutions for all primary targets." Takashi nodded slowly. The Lancer. Humanity's answer to numerical superiority. Not a weapon in the traditional sense, but something that redefined what warfare meant. 3 years of development. The combined efforts of Earth's greatest scientific minds. Technology that pushed the boundaries of physics itself. And it had never been tested in actual combat. "Communications, broadcast on all frequencies," Takashi ordered. Lieutenant James Okoye opened the channel. "Broadcasting now, Commander." Takashi's voice, when he spoke, was calm. Reasonable. The voice of a man offering one final chance. "Keltheran Fleet, this is Commander Robert Takashi of the Earth Defense Ship Phantom's Edge. You are in violation of human space. You have been warned. You have been given every opportunity to withdraw peacefully. This is your final chance. Turn back now, or face consequences you cannot imagine." Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Vorshal heard the transmission and laughed. His officers joined him. One ship. One human commander, issuing ultimatums to 200 vessels. The arrogance was almost admirable. "Prepare to jump to attack formation," Vorshal commanded. "Show these humans what real power looks like." The Keltheran fleet's engines flared to life, a constellation of blue-white stars in the darkness. 200 ships, moving as one, descending on a colony that seemed defenseless. They expected terror. They expected desperate pleas. They expected victory. They received silence. And in that silence, in the shadow of the moon, the Phantom's Edge awakened. The Keltheran Armada moved through space like a tidal wave of steel and fire, their formation perfect, their confidence absolute. Each ship maintained precise spacing, their shields overlapping in a defensive matrix that had proven impenetrable in countless battles. They were the hammer of an empire, and before them lay an anvil that would surely shatter. Commander Vorshal watched the tactical display with satisfaction. His fleet had entered the inner system, passing the orbit of the fourth planet. Ahead, the human colony's pitiful defenses waited. 12 patrol ships had formed a defensive line between the station and his approaching force. He almost felt pity. Almost. "Analysis of human vessels," he commanded. Tactical Officer Krentha's 3 eyes blinked in sequence as he reviewed the data. "Standard defensive formation, Commander. Ships are powered and shields raised, but energy readings are minimal. They appear to be Corvette-class vessels, approximately 80 meters in length. Armament consists of railguns and missile pods. Conventional fusion drives. No quantum technology detected. They plan to fight," Admiral Tychros observed with something resembling respect. "Feudal, but honorable in its way." "Honor is a luxury of the victorious," Vorshal replied. "Communications, open a channel to the human colony. Let them hear what awaits them." The transmission crackled across the void. "People of New Horizon, this is Fleet Commander Vorshal of the Keltheran Empire. Your defenders cannot save you. Your weapons cannot harm us. You have one final opportunity to surrender. Power down your vessels. Evacuate your station. Submit to Keltheran authority, and you will be allowed to live as servants of the Empire. Resist, and we will leave nothing but dust and memory. The response came not from the colony, but from one of the patrol ships. The voice was young, female, defiant. "This is Captain Jennifer Blackwood of the Earth Defense Force. We don't serve. We don't surrender. And we sure don't run from bullies, no matter how many ships they bring. You want our home? Come and take it." Vorshal's mandibles clicked in irritation. "So be it. All ships, weapons free. Destroy the defensive line, then the station. Leave the colony intact. I want survivors to spread word of what happens to those who defy us." 200 warships opened fire simultaneously. The void erupted with light. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and quantum missiles crossed the distance in seconds. The human defensive line disappeared in a series of brilliant explosions that lit the darkness like dying stars. But something was wrong. "Commander," Krenth said slowly, his voice uncertain. "The debris field doesn't match expected parameters. Mass readings are insufficient. Those weren't crewed vessels. Decoys," Tychros realized. They were drones. Before Vorshal could respond, alarms screamed across every ship in the fleet simultaneously. Sensors that had shown empty space suddenly registered a massive energy signature directly above their formation. The Phantom's edge had dropped stealth, and what it revealed made even veteran Keltheran warriors step back from their consoles in shock. The human ship was smaller than a Keltheran frigate, but the energy readings were impossible. The reactor output exceeded what their own dreadnoughts could produce. And mounted along its spine was a weapon unlike anything in their databases. "Evasive action!" Vorshal roared. "All ships scatter." Too late. The Lancer fired. It was not a beam. Not a projectile. Not anything that Keltheran physics had accounted for. The weapon created a tear in space itself, a quantum cascade that propagated through the fabric of reality like a crack through glass. It touched the forward elements of the Keltheran fleet and they simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Not exploded. They vanished, erased from existence as the quantum field consumed matter and energy alike. 15 ships gone in the first second. The cascade continued, spreading through the tightly packed formation. Ships that tried to raise shields found that conventional defenses meant nothing against a weapon that operated outside normal physics. Ships that tried to jump to faster than light speeds discovered their quantum drives only accelerated their destruction, feeding the cascade with their own energy. 20 ships. 30. 40. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned. Consoles exploded. Officers shouted contradictory reports. The ship's AI screamed warnings in a language of pure data. "Break formation." Vorshal commanded. "All ships emergency scatter protocol. Maximum speed, random vectors." The Keltheran Armada, moments ago an organized force of overwhelming power, became a panicked mob. Ships collided in their desperate attempts to flee. Some jumped to faster than light speeds without proper calculations, disappearing into quantum foam. Others shut down all systems, hoping to escape detection by playing dead in the void. The Lancer fired again. This time, the quantum cascade was narrower, more focused. It swept through the fleet center like a blade, consuming another 20 vessels. The weapon's precision was terrifying. Each shot calculated to maximize damage while conserving energy. Each firing solution updated in real time based on enemy movements. Commander Takashi watched the tactical display with no satisfaction, only grim determination. Around him, his crew worked with mechanical efficiency. There was no celebration. No triumphant shouts. They all knew what they were doing. They understood the weight of it. "Keltheran fleet is fragmenting," Lieutenant Park reported. Estimate 130 vessels remaining. They're attempting to retreat to the system's edge. Firing solution for their flagship, Takashi ordered. Locked, Ortiz confirmed. Her hand hovered over the firing control. Commander, the Eternal Dominion has lowered its shields. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Surrender terms. Takashi leaned forward. Put it through. Vorshal's voice came across the channel, and the arrogance was gone. Now there was only shock and the beginning of understanding. Commander Takashi. We surrender. In the name of the Keltheran Empire, we surrender. Cease fire. Please. Cease fire. Power down your weapons, Takashi replied. All vessels. Complete shutdown. Attempt to power any offensive system and we will resume firing. You have 30 seconds to comply. Across the shattered remains of the Armada, warships went dark. The most powerful fleet in the sector, brought to its knees by a single vessel. By a weapon they had no defense against. By an enemy they had dismissed as primitive and weak. All Keltheran vessels are powering down, Park confirmed. They're complying. Takashi stood, his joints stiff from sitting in the command chair for 6 hours. Open a channel to New Horizon. Tell them the threat is neutralized. Then open a channel to Earth Command. Tell them the Lancer works. Tell them the Keltheran Empire has learned what happens when you threaten humanity. He paused, looking at the tactical display where red icons marked destroyed ships. Thousands of Keltheran warriors who had woken that morning expecting easy victory. Who would never wake again. And tell them, Takashi added quietly, that we need to talk about what we have become. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. Commander Robert Takashi stood on the bridge of the Phantom's Edge, watching the scattered remains of what had been the most feared fleet in the sector. 70 ships destroyed. Thousands of lives ended in mere minutes. The tactical display showed the surviving Keltheran vessels hanging motionless in space, their weapons dark, their crews probably still trying to comprehend what had happened to them. Lieutenant Park broke the quiet. Commander, we're receiving multiple transmissions. Fleet Commander Vorshal is requesting direct communication. The colony is asking for situation updates. Earth Command wants a full report. And we're detecting encoded signals from at least 8 different species monitoring this system. Word is already spreading. Takashi nodded slowly. Of course it was. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Not as explorers or traders or diplomats, but as something far more dangerous. As a species that could reduce an empire's greatest fleet to floating debris with a single ship. The question now was what that meant for the future. Open the channel to Vorshal, Takashi said. Let me speak with him. The view screen flickered to life, showing the Keltheran commander. The proud warrior who had led 200 ships into battle now looked diminished. His silver scales had lost their luster, and his 4 arms hung limply at his sides. Behind him, smoke drifted through the damaged bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Commander Takashi, Vorshal said, and his voice carried no trace of the arrogance from before. I have 17,000 warriors under my command. Many are injured. Some ships are losing life support. I request permission to begin rescue operations and medical aid. Permission granted, Takashi replied immediately. Your vessels may activate emergency systems only. Medical transports may move freely. We will not fire on rescue operations. Vorshal's mandibles twitched in what might have been surprise. You show mercy to those who came to destroy your home. I show humanity, Takashi corrected. There's a difference between defending yourself and becoming the monster you fight against. Your warriors followed orders. They believed they were serving their empire. I won't punish them further for that. The Keltheran commander was quiet for a moment. We underestimated you. We saw your small fleet and your limited territory and believed you were weak. We thought numbers meant power. We were taught that lesson today in Blood and Fire. Numbers do mean power, Takashi said. But power without wisdom is just violence waiting to happen. Your empire sent 200 ships to crush a colony because we refused to bow. What did you think would happen? That we would simply accept subjugation because you had more vessels? Humanity spent centuries fighting ourselves. We nearly destroyed our own world in wars over resources and ideology and pride. We learned hard lessons about what violence really costs. He gestured to the tactical display. Every red mark on this screen represents lives that ended today. Keltheran warriors who had families waiting for them. Friends who will mourn them. Dreams that will never be realized. I don't celebrate that. I don't feel victorious. I feel sick. But I also won't apologize for defending my people. Vorshal listened, and something shifted in his expression. You are unlike any species we have encountered. Most would be threatening us now. Demanding tribute. Claiming dominance. Instead you speak of regret while standing over our defeat. Because defeat should never be celebrated, Takashi replied quietly. It should be learned from. Your empire came here believing might makes right. That superior numbers justify any action. But you learned today that there is always someone stronger. Always a bigger threat. Always a weapon you don't expect. The question is what you do with that knowledge. Behind Takashi, Engineering Chief Nguyen approached quietly. Commander, the Lancer's quantum core is cycling down. We need at least 6 hours before it can fire again. If the Keltheran fleet realized we're temporarily vulnerable, they could still overwhelm us with numbers. Takashi didn't look away from the screen. They won't. Will you, Commander Vorshal? The Keltheran leader's eyes widened slightly. He had heard. For a long moment, the two commanders regarded each other across the void. Then Vorshal's mandibles clicked in what Takashi had learned was their version of a resigned smile. No, Vorshal said. We will not. You trusted me with that information when you could have hidden it. That trust means more than any weapon. He straightened slightly, regaining some of his dignity. What are your terms, Commander Takashi? What does humanity demand from the Keltheran Empire? 3 things, Takashi said, holding up fingers. First, your fleet leaves this system immediately and does not return. Second, the Keltheran Empire recognizes human sovereignty over our territory and agrees to non-aggression. Third, you take a message back to your leaders. Tell them that humanity wants peace. We want to trade, to share knowledge, to find common ground with our galactic neighbors. But we will not be conquered. We will not be subjugated. And anyone who tries will learn what your fleet learned today. That is all? Vorshal seemed genuinely surprised. No tribute? No territorial concessions? No prisoners or hostages? What would I do with them? Takashi asked. Slavery is beneath us. Exploitation gains nothing lasting. We want to live in peace, Commander. But we want it on our terms, as free people. If your empire can accept that, then perhaps someday we can meet again as equals rather than enemies. Vorshal was silent, processing this. Finally, he bowed his head, all 4 arms crossing his chest in a gesture of respect. I will carry your message, Commander Takashi. And I will tell them something else. I will tell them that we encountered a species that showed us mercy when they could have shown only vengeance. That speaks to character deeper than any weapon. The transmission ended. Around the bridge, Takashi's crew began to relax slightly. Lieutenant Okoye looked up from his console. The Keltheran fleet is beginning withdrawal. They're moving to the system's edge in good order. No hostile actions detected. Monitor them until they jump to faster than light speeds, Takashi ordered. Then stand down from combat alert. He turned to face his crew, these men and women who had trusted him with their lives, who had operated a weapon of terrible power with steady hands and clear minds. What we did today will echo across the galaxy. Other species will hear about this. Some will fear us. Some will respect us. Some will see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated before we become too powerful. Our lives just got much more complicated. But we're alive, Lieutenant Park said. The colony is safe. And we made a statement that no one will forget. We did, Takashi agreed. The question is whether we made the right statement. Whether we showed the galaxy that humanity can be strong without being cruel. Powerful without being tyrannical. Whether we can walk the line between defending ourselves and becoming the thing we fought against. He paused, thinking about the future, about the path humanity had just chosen. Time will tell if we succeeded. But for today, we protected our people. We offered mercy to defeated enemies. And we held true to what makes us human. That has to count for something. As the Phantom's Edge maintained its vigil, watching the Keltheran fleet prepare for departure, Earth Command's response finally came through. It was brief, professional, and tinged with both pride and concern. They understood what this victory meant. They understood what it might cost. But most importantly, they understood that humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy not with words or diplomacy, but with the oldest language that civilizations understand. The language of strength tempered by mercy. Of power balanced by restraint. Of one ship standing against 200 and refusing to yield. And across the stars, in council chambers and war rooms and quiet observation posts, other species began to reassess their understanding of these newcomers called humans.